Welcome to our channel. We are so glad that you're here. I'm Kristen, I'm with Decorators Warehouse, and today I'm going to walk you through our simple process for decorating a full designer tree. Today we're going to be doing this woodland themed rustic decor. It has a lot of natural foliage, icing and berries, but it's just a perfect neutral design for the Christmas season. So follow us along, we'll break it down, and by the end of this you'll be a pro as well. The very first step of our 4-step process is our Christmas tree topper. So you guys, you hear us talk about the 4-step process quite a bit. It's our technique for layering because we know that these theme trees can be super overwhelming. So when you think of it in layers, you're really breaking it down into individual pieces and it makes it so much more attainable. So the very first thing we're gonna do is our topper. For this woodland theme, we have 5 sprays that we're gonna be using. So all of this natural greenery is a huge trend for 2023. So we're gonna be incorporating some of this. We have a berry, we have this nice tall stem with some ice. That's great. You definitely want to pick pieces that have height because what we're doing is we're extending beyond the top of the tree. This is a good one that pulls in kind of a rustic look with the flocked, and then I have an iced berry as well. For this 9-foot tree, we're going to use 3 pieces of each of these stems. Now guys, if you like a fuller topper, utilize the exact same technique but increase the quantity. So instead of 3, if you wanted it to be really full, I would suggest, maybe 6 or 7 pieces of each stem. I'm gonna start with these 2. So I have that greenery and then the brown berry. I've wrapped them together a little bit so it almost looks like one piece, and I'm gonna run this stem straight down the pole. Once you have the stem where you want it against the pole, use the actual greenery of the tree itself, and we're gonna wrap it in to give it a little bit of extra support. You don't have to do that on every stem, but I do recommend doing it on some of the very first stems that you place. Now I'm just gonna place my next 2 on each side of the tree so I have some symmetry going all the way around. So I like to alternate colors and textures whenever I'm doing my topper. So since I have really rustic, natural looks, I'm now gonna come in with this tall stem that has a nice icing on it, and I'm gonna place those in between the stems I've already placed, running that stem straight down the pole. So once you've placed it down along the pole, you can actually bend out these individual branches because they're wired. So that's what's gonna give it the poof look that we have on our spray toppers. We're gonna come in with this one next, and you can see it's a long stem and it's got all these great airy texture pieces to it. So we're gonna go straight and then these will bend out. Our topper's done and we're moving into step 2, which is our ribbon layer. I love, 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 love ribbon. I think it's the best value when incorporating pieces into your tree because it covers a lot of area of your tree. So this layering process, it's meant to fill the spaces and the area, but ribbon goes a long, long way. So for this 9-foot tree, I have 3 of this 10-yard roll of birch, and then this is a 5-yard, so we're basically gonna double it. So I'm using 6 of this one, and then we are gonna be layering them. So whenever you layer and you choose your top layer, your bottom layer, think about what you want to be predominant. So for example, if I were to put this on the top layer, it's really gonna brighten up the look, whereas this, it's gonna make it a little bit darker and moodier. That's what we're going for on this tree. So this is gonna be my top layer, this is gonna be my bottom layer, but you really could play with it and see what you like best. For a 7.5-foot tree, 2 10-yard rolls are good, and then again doubling it, so we're gonna use 4 of this one. We are gonna work with these ribbons together, so you can go ahead and put them one on top of the other. We're gonna fold it and then create a diagonal cut. So I call that a fishtail. It's just a little decorative finish to your ribbon. So I always like to start right here at the base of our topper for our ribbon, and we're gonna do a tail. So basically you're just gonna pinch that in or pleat it. We're gonna create a loop, and then we're gonna twist. So you're bringing that front side back forward. And then let's go ahead and do one more loop. So we're gonna start with like a little simple bow at the top. And then we're gonna go into a series of bigger loops and tails. So with that in one hand, we're gonna place it right here at the base. I'm gonna use the greenery of the tree itself to wrap it into place. And then because this is a wired ribbon, we can actually mold it where we want it to go. So I'm gonna put my tail up. It's concealing the stems from the topper, so we like having ribbon right there at the base. And then pull those out. Now I'm gonna run my hand kind of along the ribbon to create kind of a billow. And then again, we're gonna tuck it into the tree and wrap the branch around it to hold it. See how it kind of has that flowy, organic feel to it. Now I could go into a second loop, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and just leave a tail and cut it. So doing the same thing that we did at the beginning, let's fold it and create a diagonal cut. Now I know cutting your ribbon scares a lot of you. Don't let it scare you. It's really gonna give you control. It's gonna create a more beautiful design overall. So I definitely recommend cutting it to give you that control. So now that I have my first series of loops and tails placed, I'm gonna kind of come over here so we're offsetting, and I'm gonna continue that same pattern. So let's go ahead. I think I'll do one loop here going into a series of bigger loops. We'll start with the tail. Let's fold it to make that loop. You're gonna twist. And again, we're gonna kind of roll our hand there to create that billowed effect. You guys can get really creative too with the placement of your loop. So I don't always know exactly what I'm gonna do going into a design. Sometimes it feels better to have the loop at the top of the continuation. Sometimes it feels better to have it at the bottom. You know, sometimes we'll do a small bow at the bottom. So it really depends on the area of your tree and just kind of whatever comes natural to you. Design, it doesn't have to be an exact formula or an exact process. It's just what feels good to you and your home and your style. So let's go ahead and cut this. I'm gonna fold it and make a diagonal cut. And since this is really good quality wired ribbon, I can mold that tail however I want it to look. Okay, so as you can see, I don't have a huge swatch of ribbon left, but I definitely don't want to waste it. I can't do a big continuation of loops, but what I can do is a small accent, or what I like to call a one loop bow. So we're gonna leave the detailed cut and create a tail. And then we're gonna make a one loop bow and face that forward. So now I can create this with a decorative accent too, and then I can just pop this in anywhere that I have space. All right, let's continue this process. We're gonna basically repeat these all the way through the tree until we've used all of our ribbon. So since I'm here, I now wanna offset a little bit and start my next continuation there. All right, step 2, our ribbon is placed, and I think it looks really great. Notice by cutting it, I really had control of where it went, and it just gives it some great texture and life. So going into step 3, this is our floral and spray layer. Now we're gonna be using all of the same sprays, and when I talk about sprays, I mean, you know, stems with different foliage and berries, things of that nature. We're gonna use a variety of styles, so we'll use the same ones that were in the topper. I'm gonna start with these two, so the berry and the greenery. A lot of times I'll do what I call floral clusters. Now, rustic designs, I tend to gravitate towards not as much floral or flowers specifically. So when you're not using as much flowers, you can compensate by adding more sprays or more ornaments. So we're gonna focus primarily on sprays, but I do have one floral that I'll show you in just a bit. So for this one, this is kind of my cluster. I've got the berry and the greenery, and you can see I put them together in a way that looks like it's one piece, and then I just kind of wrap that stem around it to hold it in place. Now what we're gonna do, we always work in a zigzag pattern throughout the tree. So if my first one goes like in this area, my next one is gonna go here, and I'm gonna continue that throughout the tree. And we're gonna go up, and that's gonna create kind of a cascade down. Okay, let me show you the other stems we're working with. So we have this berry. Love this one because it opens up so much. And then this ice branch, which is beautiful. I'm using 1 per foot of tree in the body. So for example, this 9-foot tree, A good quantity is 9 pieces of each stem. Now, if you're doing a full 360 view, I'm not doing probably a third of the back side of this tree, but if you're doing a full 360, you could even up that and do maybe like a dozen of each of these stems. So now we're just gonna go in one style at a time, and we're gonna work in the opposite zigzag. So since I'm here and then here, my next one will go in this area and then in this area and so forth. This is a great, awesome big stem, but you can open it up. Whenever we place this in an upward motion, it's gonna cascade nice and give you lots of great texture. Okay, all of my sprays are placed, and you can see I'm starting to get some great texture through this tree. So as I mentioned, we don't have a lot of flowers specifically that we're using in this design. I have this one stem. I love our poinsettias. They're just such good quality and just such great attention to details. It has a bell center and this textured tweed. So I have 9 of these for this 9-foot tree. I'd use 7 on a 7.5 foot, and then somewhere in the range of like 14 to maybe even 20 or so on a 12-foot. So now I'm just gonna place them kind of in that same zigzag formation, working through the body of the tree, and then we'll move on to step 4, which is our ornaments. Okay, step 3 is done. I think it's taking such great shape. So we're gonna move into step 4, which is our ornaments. We have a lot of big ornaments in this design because we're not using quite as much floral and sprays as we do in some of our other designs. So I have these bells, which I adore. So those are gonna be great space fillers. And then kind of going with the rustic design, I love, love, love these big pine cones. We've got shatterproof. I basically can't do a tree without shatterproof. These are just a nice texture. And then this finial that has a velvet covering is really rich too. Velvet is so big right now. You see it in ribbon designs, you see it in everything. So this is a perfect to carry on the trends for 2023. And then also I have a handful of glass ornaments. I'm gonna hold those to the end. They're smaller in size, so we'll put those on very last. Right now though, I wanna start with my biggest pieces. So I'm gonna place my bells and my pine cones. All of my bigger pieces have been placed, so now I'm gonna come in with my more specialized ornaments. I love these. These are kind of the star of the show. They're gonna go on the outer part of the branches and really give it a fun element. So I've got this one, an antler to go with the woodland theme. I love plaid. So these in 2 different shapes, and then we've got the deer as well. So now I'm just gonna place them wherever I have holes left. All right guys, that is the end of our 4 steps. So just recap real quick, we had our topper, we went into our ribbon, we did our floral and spray layer, and then we ended with our ornaments. When you break it down like that, it makes it so easy, and this technique can be adapted to any style. All right, and if you love this tree, this is actually one of our Christmas tree bundles. So you can go to our website, decoratorswarehouse.com, or jump in the comments and purchase this whole package. So it comes with all of your sprays, florals, ribbon, ornaments, pretty much everything but the tree. And we ship it to you, and you already know how to do it because you just watched this video. And if you like individual pieces too, we realize the bundle's not for everyone, but the individual pieces in this design can also be found on our website, decoratorswarehouse.com. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to follow us on all of our social channels. We're on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram as well. Merry Christmas and happy decorating.